I'm here today with Assistant Chief Wayne Briscoe with Frankfort City Fire and EMS. Wayne, how long have you been a paramedic?
I've been a paramedic going on 15 years.
Going on 15 years? Were you an EMT before that?
Yes.
Alright, well, today we were talking about what you feel like the greatest crisis in EMS is. What do you think?
I think we've seen many crises over EMS over the last 15 to 20 years since I've been in it. As we're going through, I think we got a couple that we're really looking at big, and I look specifically with our department, in which the biggest crisis we're facing right now is we're seeing increased cost to operate EMS, but yet we continue to see vast decreases in the amount of funding through both local government and reimbursement rates from insurance agencies, Medicare, and Medicaid.
What's the cause that causes us to not be reimbursed? Is it something that the people are doing out on the, our guys that are making the runs? Is it a problem with billing? Is it a problem with insurance companies?
I think insurance companies have figured out a way to slowly decrease reimbursements through various contracts with healthcare providers. But more importantly, when you look at Medicare and Medicaid, that's typically some of the first that state governments usually go to and start slicing and cutting out funding for. So we look specifically for us. We've seen a vast decrease in the amount of Medicaid reimbursement, and I contributed a lot to we haven't recovered from the recession we hit, but I think we also are starting to see a big transfer from self and private insurance with Obamacare into state-funded insurance agencies.
Do you think this is something that's going to remedy itself at any point, or is it something that's just going to get worse and worse?
I think as time goes on, we're going to continue to see it get worse. Where we're not seeing vast numbers of increased employments in communities, especially ours. State government is continually to slash budgets and slash reimbursement rates through federal Medicare and Medicaid agencies. And I think you're still going to continue to see that workforce become that unemployment populations creep up a little bit more. Therefore, I think Medicaid is going to be a little bit more prevalent for pre-hospital response such as ourselves.
How do you think that'll ultimately affect us on the line, the ones that are making the runs?
I don't think it's really going to affect line personnel as much as it will taxpayers and local government. The need for EMS continues to increase at roughly about 3 to 5% a year, running volume-wise. It's not going to change. Our population's getting older. They require EMS a little bit more. Therefore, I don't know that we're going to see it. It's just going to be a little bit harder to get reimbursement dollars to offset the cost versus what we recoup.
So we've talked about the reimbursement rates, and you also mentioned that you felt like it is higher costs of operating costs now for EMS. Why do you think that is?
I think you see the training requirements and things go up for especially advanced level care, and then just technology of the evolving pre-hospital medical care field. Anyway, we see it's not uncommon to see new equipment and new technology come out on a yearly basis that is very expensive due to the advancements. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve in the pre-hospital field, you take those new technologies and you incorporate them into the dynamic field that we're in, and you start to see an increased cost. But also associated with that increased cost is an increased cost with personnel. I think it's something, if I had to pick a second topic, that we specifically are going to face a crisis mode here in the state is the shortage of paramedics due to the decreasing number of trainees coming out, the decreasing number of paramedic schools that are teaching. I think we're going to see that shortage hit home over the next 5 to 6 years.
So since we went to this accreditation program that they've required now through National Registry, and all our paramedic programs have to be accredited, going through that process and deciding to make us accredited, do you think that is in conjunction to the shortage of the medics? Do you think that's part of it, the reason why we're having a shortage of medics, or do you think people just aren't interested in this field?
I think it's most definitely a contributing factor, but I also think that the pre-hospital field, we don't do a good job at selling our profession the way other people do. When you look at fire service, or you look at law enforcement, or you look at business management, organizations, they sell and they recruit very well. Pre-hospital hasn't done that. Typically, you're getting a lot of the tradesmen, or you're getting people that's been in the service, following family ties that kind of stay into it. But I think when you look at what the accreditation has done, what we could typically turn out roughly 20 to 30 medics through a 2-year program at virtually anyone that could run a course through the state program. Now we went down, and now we're only seeing roughly about 10 or 12 accredited programs in the state are those that are they're under their letter of review. So we've seen a drastic drop. And associated with that, the cost of these training programs have skyrocketed. What we could typically do a paramedic program for locally, anywhere from the $2,000 to $4,000 range, is going to cost upwards to $10,000 just to get them in the course. That does not count overtime and backfill for the employees we get here.
So for us as an agency, who will be hurting with the paramedic shortage, what can we do, or is there anything that we're thinking about doing to remedy that? Obviously, it won't be something that'll be remedied in the next year, but within the 5 years that you're saying we'll be hurting, is there something we're gonna do to fix that?
I think we're on the brink of having a regional paramedic course open up a little bit closer to where we can get people into. But also I think that we as an organization may need to start eyeballing, do we need to accredit a program here? In speaking with some of our state leaders, the advanced EMT, they keep selling this is a gap. This will help bridge the gap, but they're about 5 years away from being accredited themselves. So we're gonna be right back in the same boat.
So either way, if we go medic or we go advanced EMT, you're still looking at 5 years down the road.
Yes.
So we have a 5-year gap that we're gonna be short, and we're gonna be hurting for paramedics.
I think over the next 2 years, we'll start to get some students in and have those returned back to us. So I don't think it's going to be uncommon to see our numbers start to rise by 5 to 6 over a 2-year period, that we start to backfill those paramedic slots.
Okay. Is there any other thing else that you feel like is a problem in EMS today? Especially since you've been in it for so long, is there anything else that you feel like you've seen change drastically and not for the better?
We've seen a lot of things change, but as far as a drastic demotivator or a hindrance to pre-hospital, I think those are probably the two biggest.
All right. Well, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.